Hey guys, in this video I'll show you my route for hitting all 40 dragon riding glyphs to fill out the talent tree on day 1 of Dragonflight. I started this at level 61 just minutes after unlocking dragon riding, so my route is tailored with that in mind. As not to waste your time, I've edited out the time spent waiting for vigor to recharge, but I hope the map and my commentary make it easy enough to follow along. Let's get started! To get the glyph at Skytop Observatory, ascend and briefly land on a ledge with the dragon statue before flying up to the first tower. There, just let your vigor recharge and then go for the glyph, but make sure you land right back on the roof of the high tower when you're done. Once your vigor is full, you'll head north to Scalecracker Peaks. Careful not to slip once you've found a place to land. Just pick the ledges you can see and take it a little bit at a time, letting your vigor recharge before each push. Once you've got the glyph, turn west and fly down to the Lifebinder Observatory, where the glyph waits for you above the roof. Again, land on the roof and just let your vigor refill. Next, you want to head southwest to the overflowing spring. The glyph's just above the bluff there, and you can land and wait the vigor after. Then you can glide southwest to the Obsidian Bulwark Cliff, which is on a lower, smaller bluff near the beginning of the lava flow. This time, once you've got the glyph, immediately veer northwest to the Obsidian Throne. Get as far and as high as you can with the momentum you have left, because this glyph is going to be all the way up and behind the top of the citadel. Take your time, and once you're done, try and land on top of the citadel, or at least on one of the towers. I probably didn't need to, but I went all the way to the top. Just barely. Here you'll glide southeast to the Ruby Life Pools. You can use the momentum from grabbing this glyph to head to the next 3 glyphs in rapid succession, or you can land at the Ruby Life Shrine and then take off from there. North of the balcony and under an archway, you'll find another glyph. If you build some momentum after grabbing it, you can actually make it to the next 2 without landing. The next one is northeast inside a tower, and the final Waking Shores glyph is on top of a broken tower even further northeast at the Wingrest Embassy. After this, just find a high spot to land and recharge your vigor before heading back to the Ruby Life Shrine. Now's a good time to remember to spend your talents. The 4th vigor will really help for the next zone. From the Life Shrine, or any other decent spot nearby, head south to the Unaran Plains. Once you're at Ruzathar Reach, find a spot to land and just wait for your vigor. Again. Make your way up to the Crow's Nest and wait for your vigor to recharge before grabbing the glyph. Once you've got it, glide and ascend south to the glyph at Dragon Spring Summit, which is just below the Cobalt Assembly on the border. You should be able to land somewhere nearby, ideally on top of the tower. Once your vigor refills, fly west to Oniri Springs. You should be able to ascend to the glyph without landing, but you can always find a spot to let your vigor recharge and make a push from there. Once you have it, glide north and slightly east, picking up the glyph floating above Windsong Rise. Momentum should carry you to the next glyph, to the west at Sar Skeleth, and then you can land on the tower and wait for your vigor. Again! Mirror of the Sky is just across the water to the south and slightly east of you. You should be able to ascend to it without landing. Next, you want to glide west to the Eternal Kurgans, where there's a glyph high in the air. You shouldn't have to land, but it's fine if you do. From here, you'll glide north to the Emerald Gardens. Using any leftover momentum and vigor to head further north and gain some altitude. Land as high as you can above Nakudan Hold, then push up to the peak until you can get the glyph. Once you have it, just glide east to Inara's Roost and land on the cliffs partway up. After another wait for vigor, continue to push, and stop once at the snowy roost before going for the head of the eagle statue. Afterwards, you want to land on top, let your vigor recharge, and then you're headed to Thaldrazzus, since we're saving the Azure Span for last. From the statue's head, fly far east to Valdrakken, which is the new capital city. You should be able to make it all the way there easily. And make sure you stop at the inn to set it as your new hearth. Unfortunately, the teleporter that normally takes you to the top of the Seat of the Aspects doesn't work until you're 66. It'll take a few pushes and some waiting for vigor, of course, but pick your targets and take it one leap at a time. Above the tower at the top of the seat, you'll find the glyph. Once you have it, immediately glide south and slightly east to Storm Shroud Peak. You'll want to land at the green outcropping and wait for vigor to come back. Then you go clockwise around the peak with your next push and land on the wider ledge. The push after that should get you to a smaller ledge higher up, and one final push from there gets you the glyph. You should be able to use your leftover momentum to fly all the way to Tierhold to the northeast. The glyph you want is on the rock beside the tower. And if you still have enough momentum left over, fly further east to the glyph beside the Vault of the Incarnates raid. If you still have enough momentum and vigor after that, head back towards Tierhold and find a good spot to land before you head to Thaldras's apex. I chose the overlook to the left as you're approaching Tierhold from the east. The apex is the hardest glyph to get by far. I should mention that unless you've unlocked your 5th vigor through talents, it's unlikely you'll be able to make the final push to the glyph. Just make sure you spend your points. Your first push should get you from the overlook to a wide perch counterclockwise around the mountain. Wait for vigor, then reverse and go clockwise to the next perch. And after that, get to the flatter part of the peak jutting out from it. Another push should take you counterclockwise around the mountain to another ledge, and another push after that gets you further up the peak, jutting out from that point. Once you have vigor, continue counterclockwise around the apex to the next landing. And then after another wait, you should be able to reach the snow-capped ledge. Once you're near the northeast face, you'll start going clockwise again, up and around the apex. Some of the ledges are a bit tight, so just be careful. Pick the landings that work for you. Just be safe. Eventually you'll reach a deep ledge around the north base. Once you have enough vigor, go back counterclockwise to another wide ledge. And then back clockwise to the top of the peak, overlooking that deep ledge. It's a tight fit, but it's your best launch point to get to the top. Just take your time landing there. Now during this final push, you want to get the most out of each ascent. If you mess up or approach from a screwy angle, like I did a couple times, just land back on the peak, or if you can't, stick the landing there. Go back to either of the two ledges and then start up again. Once you get to the top, let your vigor refill and grab the glyph. You earned it. Now you can just glide straight down and slightly northwest to the main tower at Algathar Academy. The glyph is inside the top part of the dome, so grab it and maintain momentum as you travel further north to the Veiled Ossuary. This one's also in a tower. Since you shouldn't have had to spend any vigor gliding through the past two glyphs, you should be able to make it back to the main building at Algathar Academy, or at least close. Get back to the roof there. Doesn't have to be the very top, but at least the first roof. And once you're full on vigor, see if you can fly up to the aqueducts. After another wait for vigor, you'll continue south to the temporal conflux. You want to try to maintain altitude if you can to avoid landing early, and ideally you'll get to the platforms at least, or even the grassy part just north of the conflux building. Another push or two should get you to a tower behind the conflux where the glyph is waiting for you. Again, let your figure refill, and then glide down to the city. You can either land on one of the high platforms above Valdrakken and then fly to Southhold Gate from there, or you can do what I did and take a shortcut around Stormshroud Peak going southwest. I had no idea the things there would dismount me. If you take the shortcut, just have a glider kit ready and be ready to hit it. Everything should be fine. The glyph at the Southhold Gate is in the second highest tower. Once you've got it, just keep going southwest to the tower at Cobalt Assembly in the Azure Span. You'll probably need to land on the roof there before making a final push for it. Making the final push with full vigor, you can grab the glyph and glide east to the Kalthraz Fortress, where the next glyph is in a broken dome of another tower. Land there, and once you have enough vigor, ascend towards Vakthros and get as high as you can on the ice shelves. If you make it this high, you can go on foot part of the way while you wait for vigor to come back. Another push or two should get you to the top of the summit tower, where the glyph is waiting. From here, just let yourself fall southwest to the Lost Ruins. If it's nighttime in-game, that combined with the snow makes it a bit harder to see, but the tower you're looking for is actually pretty low. I almost missed it, as you can see. Continue to glide south to the tower at Ruins of Karnthar, going right through the glyph before gliding southwest above the cliffs. Under one of the waterfalls, there's a glyph at Imbu, and once you've got it, use any momentum and vigor you've got left over to head northwest and gain as much altitude as possible. If you end up too low, just find a spot to land and recharge. You really don't want to get stuck in the area with the ice spiders. From there, keep making pushes to the west until you get to the Azure Archive. If you haven't done the quests there, you can't use the teleporter to get up to the main structure, but you can fly up there with your dragon and use them as launching pads. The glyph you want is in the higher tower on the cliffs, just south of the archive. Get it, land on the top level of the central structure, and again wait for vigor. Then you want to take off to the northeast until you reach Selfrek Outpost. You can use the tower there as a landmark, but the glyph itself is on the side of a tree to the left of the tower, if you're approaching it from the south. You can see I overshot it and approached from the west, but as long as you find it, you're good. Now you want to glide west, ascending where you can, keeping up momentum. The glyph at the Drake's Eye Pond is in another tower, and you can actually fly right through it as you continue west to the final glyph in the zone, at Brackenhide Hollow. This one's near the top of one of the higher trees. So here's the part where I say oops, because I missed the glyph in Thaldraszus. The quickest way is to hearth back to Beldraken and fly north to it, which should be especially easy now that you should have just about all of your dragon riding talents. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to beeline it straight from this last glyph, so enjoy the view. you go. All 40 glyphs. It's not a perfect route, but I hope it works as well for you as it did for me. Depending on how much time you want to sink into getting these glyphs, since the time spent waiting for Vigor really starts to add up. You can decide to skip the worst ones, or maybe even get enough for a 4th Vigor and then call it a day. For me at least, I plan to get all 40 before going back to questing, and I hope this looks fun enough that you will too. As always, thanks so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe if you find this helpful, and hope to see you in the next video.